This is the most authentic wilderness survival challenge. There are no time limits, no 5-person film crew, and participants can only bring their own survival gear. 8 contestants are dropped off in the Alti Lake area near the Arctic Circle. They must not only build shelters and find food, but also be prepared for unexpected situations. The last person standing, with the most advanced survival skills, will win $500,000. As the small yacht slowly pulls up to the shore, the 8 contestants are sent to different starting points. The first to appear is Gel. His thick beard alone is enough to show he's a true survival expert. After the crew leaves, Gel knows he's on his own. Before the competition, Gel was a lecturer in an outdoor education program at a university. Since he was young, he has loved nature. He says every time he's in the wild, he feels a strong sense of security. Now, to earn money to get his 2 sons married, he decided to sign up and try his luck. Less than 2 minutes after stepping ashore, Gel finds a small stream nearby. Where there's water, there's likely food, which is great news. The most urgent task, however, is to build a shelter. He picks a spot and sets up a waterproof tarp, creating a dry place to spend the night. To get ahead of the others, he knows he needs to find food quickly. He carefully inspects the area around the lake, then takes off his clothes, grabs a fishing net, and wades into the water naked. He's a bold person, to say the least. After crossing to the other side of the lake, he sets up the net, creating a barrier across the stream. The lake is so wide. He's really going big right from the start. To avoid hypothermia, he quickly gets back on shore and puts his clothes on. Now, he just has to wait for tomorrow for a good meal. The second contestant is Ramos. After arriving, he uses a compass to find the direction of the sunrise and chooses a spot on higher ground to set up camp. He then turns around and falls over. His skills are still unproven. Back home, Ramos, 24, is an industrial technician. His most valuable possession is his old RV, where he lives. In his free time, he retreats to his private workshop to pass the time. These outdoor trips have nurtured his love for nature, and he signed up for the competition to challenge himself. He finds a fallen dry log and secures it to a tree, then drapes a waterproof tarp over it. Since everything is damp, Ramos decides to just drink some cold water and go to sleep. He'll worry about food tomorrow. Jetty is the oldest contestant this season, at 54. She's still participating in the competition, a testament to her older is wiser mentality, proving she's even stronger than the young people. After landing, Jetty quickly surveys the area and finds an open space between some trees, deciding to build a temporary shelter there. She doesn't bother to cut down any trees. She just bends a few branches down and covers them with a waterproof tarp. It may not look pretty, but it will keep her dry. Before the competition, Jetty lived on an island with her boyfriend, riding horses and enjoying a peaceful, happy life. She joined the competition because she was bored after retiring and has no intention of winning. She just wants to make it into the top 3. When the weather clears up, Jetty emerges from her tent. Not wanting to shiver all night, she tries to start a campfire. Unfortunately, everything is wet. She tries to use her flint and steel 100 times, but no spark appears. She has no choice but to adapt to the situation. The fourth contestant is Brick. He's a veteran who served in the military for over 35 years, so his survival skills are top-notch. Yet, after landing, he spends half an hour walking in circles and still can't find a good spot for a shelter. He eventually just chooses a random place and uses some makeshift branches. Then he goes to the lake to check things out. He walks around for 2.5 hours without finding anything. After retiring in the state of Edward, Brick's life was stable, but he's still proud of his years in the military. They say 2 years of military service is like a vacation, but he served for 8 years. In his free time, he looks at old photos and dreams of being back on a mission, seeking the same excitement he felt back then. That's why he signed up for this competition. On day 2, Brick realizes he's wet from head to toe. In these conditions, he can't survive for long. The harsh weather makes him so angry, he almost has a heart attack. After a quick bathroom break outside his camp, he sees the sun starting to come out. He decides to start building a long-term shelter. It takes him half a day to build a frame with some large logs before he can cover it with a waterproof tarp. Besides organizing his belongings neatly on the ground, he also sets up a drying rack overhead. After finishing everything, he starts planning for tomorrow. Over with Gel, He found a straight bamboo pole while walking by the lake early in the morning. This would be perfect for a fishing rod, but he put that aside for now because today was the day to check his fishing nets. Eagerly, he pulled the nets up. He caught 2 small fish in the first half and ended up with a total of 4 small perch. Having just caught a feast, he returned to his camp to prepare dinner. But to his dismay, when he tried to use his flint and steel, he struck it 10 times, and still no fire. The environment was simply too damp. Joel was furious. He sat down to think, and in the end, he decided to eat the fish raw. He described the sashimi as chewy, crispy, and tender, much more delicious than beef. Moving to Ramos's location, he woke up feeling great after a good night's sleep in his tent. He went to the river to get a cup of pure water and started planning for the day. Ramos decided to set up a fishing net first, as fish were the easiest food source to find. He cut a sturdy log to anchor the net, but after thinking it over, he still wasn't satisfied. So, from morning until afternoon, he gathered 10 more logs and built 2 tripods. Anyone looking at him would think he was building a fishing platform. The 5th contestant, Eddie, has already set up his tent. He puts the issue of food aside for now. Not wanting to be stuck in the rain forever, he tries to start a fire. Luckily, he found some dry cloth when he landed. After striking his flint 100 times, a fire finally sparked to life. Eddie used to be an animal handler in the Plaster region, but he didn't like his job. In his free time, he would do crafts and sometimes even grill barbecue. So his biggest fear in this competition is not getting enough to eat. Taking advantage of the sunny weather, Eddie goes to a nearby patch of blueberries for his breakfast. He eats as he picks, and soon his stomach is full. On his way back to camp, he's shocked to find a pile of black bear feces. This surprise rattles him. The area is less than 100 meters from his camp. If a black bear were to visit at midnight, the result would surely be a feast for 8 people. The survival competition has just begun, and the remaining experts have yet to appear. Will they choose to starve until the end, or will they give up early? On the 3rd day, the 6th contestant, Actress, appears. As soon as she lands, she skillfully sets up her tent. However, she accidentally scratches her hand. Drawing blood on the first day is a rare sight. Luckily, it's just a minor scratch. After cleaning up, she quickly starts a fire in her camp. The 3 basic survival elements are now complete. Actress then decides to go to the lake to check her fishing net. After all, she can't live well without delicious protein. Back home, in Odense, Actress is an outdoor enthusiast and loves cycling. With her small bike, she can go anywhere. She also loves to travel, often exploring remote, uninhabited places. Because of this, she's very confident in this competition. When she gets to the lake, she's excited to see fish in her net. She carefully pulls the net up, and after she's done with the first fish, another one appears right away. The size of the fish's head is impressive. After pulling up the entire net, Achi has 3 protein-rich fish, but the cost is a net with many large tiers that will not be easy to repair. Sunny is the 7th contestant this season. She is also trying to catch some fish. To set up her net more easily, she uses her plastic sleeping pad as a float. Then she takes her gear to the lake. She throws the net with all her might, but the waves are too strong. No matter how hard she tries, she can't get the results she wants. She's already hot-tempered, and this failure makes her so angry she almost faints on the spot. Before the competition, Sunny was a professional rower. In her youth, she was a dominant force in the sport. Although she's now retired, she still loves outdoor sports. She wants to be stronger, and at 51, she signed up against her family's wishes. As a professional athlete, her competitive spirit is fierce, and she declares that she will eliminate all her opponents and win the championship. Back at her camp, she tries to calm down, but the hunger is unbearable. Sunny decides to build a simple floating device to take her to the middle of the lake to fish. She immediately gets to work, continuously sawing. She's annoyed at the production team for not giving her a bigger saw. It takes her half a day just to saw a small plank. She also has to attach some wooden stakes to tie ropes and secure it. After everything is done, she goes back to the lake, but after more than 10 attempts, she still can't get it to float far enough. Reluctantly, she gives up on the idea. With skills like these, she's better off going home and becoming a farmer. Ramos finally has a harvest day. He eagerly pulls up his net and is surprised to find he has caught a 2.5 kilograms catfish. He immediately kills it by hitting its head with a rock. Such fresh ingredients cannot be wasted, so he rushes back to camp to cook. The fish is soft, fragrant, and melts in his mouth. The protein content is off the charts. Only after eating his fill does he understand the importance of meat. If he can maintain this pace, he believes his chances of winning are high. Meanwhile, Eddie sleeps until noon before going to the shore to check his fishing gear. When he pulls up his line, the hook is as clean as his face. He hasn't caught any protein for breakfast. He has no choice but to drink water to stave off hunger. On day 4, Eddie finishes building a wooden fishing device. The device is too small to carry a person, so he ties one end of his net to it and pushes it out into the middle of the lake. Worried it might not be buoyant enough, he also attaches an inflatable ring provided by the show. He hopes it will drift far enough to cast the net underwater. While others have already caught fish, Jetty still hasn't set her net. She notices a hole in her glove and cuts it out to create a pulley, making it easier to pull the rope. She then ties one end of the net to a tree branch and follows the shore to the other side. In no time, she has finished setting her net. Now, all she has to do is wait for the foolish fish to swim into it. The last person to enter the arena is La. A few days ago, he found several old wooden planks by the lake. Although the wood isn't very valuable, the nails in it are extremely useful. He removes them, knowing they'll come in handy for something important. As a veteran teacher who specializes in teaching outdoor survival skills to his students, La has loved nature and working outdoors since he was a child. He prepared meticulously for the competition, even practicing rock climbing, fearing his students would mock him if he didn't win. Soon, he has removed dozens of nails and quickly builds a chair from the wooden planks for his camp. The size is just right. After he's done, he goes out to find food. By a stream, he discovers a plant with a sharp root that he used to eat as a child. It's sweet and sour and provides a lot of energy. He also gathers some fennel to take back. After a simple preparation, he puts it in a pot to cook. For lunch, he eats it with half a piece of fish. At this point, La is doing quite well. On day 5, Brick's situation is not looking good. He has gone 5 consecutive days without catching any protein. He is the most anxious person at the moment. The reason he hasn't set his net yet is because it has been raining continuously for 5 days, leaving him with no motivation to work. His body feels weak, and he's breathing heavily. He struggles to cross the river to the other side. He hastily pulls up his reserve net and secures it. When he's done, his face is filled with disappointment. He sits by the lake, feeling like he's not cut out for survival. He thinks back to his 35 years in the military and can't believe he can't handle a little wind and waves. By the afternoon, a very hungry Brick decides to check his reserve net early. Maybe the heavens took pity on him, but the net has caught 2 small fish. Although they are smaller than his can, he finally doesn't have to starve anymore. However, as he turns to go back for his pot, he slips and falls hard, unable to move. Fearing for his life, Rick calls for help. When a yacht quickly arrives, he's already waiting on the shore. The doctor's preliminary diagnosis suggests a potential rib injury and recommends he go to the hospital for an X-ray. Hearing this, Brick is furious. Things had just started to look up, and the fish he caught hadn't even been eaten yet, but he had to withdraw. For this reason, he has no choice but to accept this cruel reality and reluctantly go home early. On day 5, with 7 contestants remaining, Gel seems to be the most well-fed. A quick check of his reserve net yields 7 or 8 fish. He quickly puts them in a pot and fries them until they're golden brown on both sides. However, the thick smoke from the stove makes it hard for him to open his eyes. After lunch, Gel decides to improve his fireplace. Living in a shelter that's open on all 4 sides, he knows he'll freeze to death when the cold weather comes without a proper stove. Therefore, building a stove becomes his top priority. He puts on a large backpack and goes to the riverbank to gather rocks to bring back to his camp. He slowly builds the stove, filling any gaps with sand. It doesn't take long for him to finish. He uses a small piece of cotton he found as kindling, and after a few strikes of his flint, a wisp of smoke rises. He quickly builds a fire to test its effectiveness, but as soon as the fire is lit, the entire camp fills with smoke. Gel can't stand it and goes outside to check. He believes there's still room for improvement and that he can always add a chimney later. Regardless, the structure is still quite perfect. Afterward, he rushes to the river to get a bowl of water to boil. Eddie, meanwhile, plans to move his camp today. He's bored of living in a shelter that's less than 3 square meters. Unexpectedly, on his way to his new spot, a reindeer runs down from the opposite hillside. Faced with a potential feast, Eddie can't bring himself to hunt it. When he checks his net at the lake, he hasn't caught any fish. He rearranges the net and believes that this time he will definitely catch something. Sure enough, in the afternoon, before he even gets to the lake, he sees fish caught in the net. Unable to contain his excitement, he pulls them ashore. One fish after another emerges from the water, making Eddie overjoyed. In a single haul, he has caught 7 wild fish. This is incredible luck. He gathers some dry bark for fuel, and not long after, he is sitting by the lake, enjoying his delicious meal. The smell of the grilled fish is irresistible. Chewing the soft and tender meat, even a small fish provides plenty of energy for his body. Aster is gathering materials by the lake and stumbles upon a wooden floorboard. In the wilderness, this is an incredibly useful find. It takes her half a day to carry it back to her camp. She decides to expand her shelter. Thanks to her rock climbing skills, which she has practiced for over 2.5 years, she quickly pulls the rain tarp to its maximum height, making the tent significantly more spacious. Afterward, she returns to the lake to gather more materials to reinforce the shelter, bringing back everything from wooden planks to tree roots. It's odd that she has so much strength, but doesn't just cut down the trees nearby. After over an hour of hard work, she finishes reinforcing one wall. She then covers the top with a few branches, so she doesn't have to worry about wind while she sleeps. Finally, after packing her things, Aster moves into her new home. Meanwhile, for Jetty, today is the day to check her net. 5 days without protein have left her feeling hungry and tired. She rushes to the lake and starts pulling up the net. The more she pulls, the more fish she finds. Her hands are so full she can't hold them all. Jetty is so excited she can't stop smiling. In the end, she counts 10 wild fish. She immediately returns to camp and starts cooking. The moment the fish touches her tongue, the fresh flavor spreads to the back of her head. The amount of protein is many times more than beef. Whether it's because she's so hungry or not, Jetty eats 7 fish in one sitting, only stopping when she can't eat anymore. As an older person, she just wants to enjoy the present. On day 6, Ramos wakes up at noon. Ever since he tasted the fish, he has been eagerly waiting for his net to bring him more spoils. However, when he checks the lake, he only finds 1 small fish. This is not what he hoped for. If this continues, he might not even catch a single fish. That would be a huge problem. To avoid starving, he takes his water bottle and goes up the mountain to pick wild berries. He hopes this will ease the pressure on his net. But as time goes on, Ramos's mood changes. He often laments his boring life and seems like he won't last much longer. The next morning, he returns to the lake and is lucky enough to catch 2 small fish. He discards the heads and keeps only the best part of the meat to cook. Given his current situation, Ramos can only take things one step at a time. If he can't catch any fish one day, he'll have to withdraw. Time passes to day 8. Although Jetty isn't worried about food, she constantly feels tired. Maybe it's her age, but even a little bit of activity makes her have to sit down and rest. Not wanting to continue living in a cramped space, Jetty decides to build a bigger tent nearby. But this heavy work is too much for her. She only makes a few cuts before she starts to feel dizzy. It's clear that if she continues like this, her body will have problems. Thinking of her retirement money, which she hasn't spent yet, she doesn't want to die here. On day 11, a yacht breaks the silence of the lake. The 2 disheartened contestants have both decided to withdraw. As the yacht slowly pulls up to the shore, Jetty has been waiting for a long time. After 10 days in the wild, she realizes her body can't handle it. She doesn't want to push herself and face the consequences. After much thought, she decides to pack her bags and withdraw, leaving the opportunity to the younger contestants. Finally, Jetty packs her belongings and reluctantly leaves the competition. At the same time, on Sunny's side, she is perhaps the most miserable contestant. Every day, she lies on the ground and eats wild berries to survive. For her, lasting until day 10 was already an achievement. But she still wants to challenge herself, determined to eat her first fish here. She goes to the lake to check her net again. She doesn't expect to catch 10 fish. She just doesn't want to starve. After a search, she actually catches a small fish, which makes her overjoyed. After a quick preparation on the spot, she can finally enjoy it. Watching the grilled fish sizzle in the pot, Sunny feels happy for the first time. Next is Aster. She is probably the most successful female contestant, even planning to build a comfortable single bed for herself. For her, living in nature means she must elevate her quality of life. After she's done, she goes to the lake to check her net. She's not sure if it's the location, but she easily catches 18 wild fish. Her luck and skill are truly impressive. One catch is enough to feed her for half a month. She goes to the river to clean the fish, then skewers them on wooden sticks to smoke. She is truly the fish queen of this season. By day 12, Ramos has lost all motivation due to not catching any fish for several days in a row. He reflects that as a young person, he's easily influenced and perhaps shouldn't have signed up for this show. After 2.5 hours of contemplation on a mountain, he finally calls the production team. As the small yacht approaches, Ramos says it feels familiar to see other people again. He declares that he can't survive in this desolate place without food. He packs his bags and eagerly heads home. We'll have to wait and see how the remaining 5 players compete. By day 13, there are 5 contestants left. Eddie's situation is not looking good. Although he has enough to eat and wear every day, he can't stop feeling homesick. He wakes up sluggishly at noon. According to the Wilderness Survival Guide, charcoal makes for a great toothpaste, but Eddie finds it disgusting. He has to eat something every day, but he can't stand the thought of eating that every day. But if he doesn't, he'll starve. While picking blueberries, he deliberately gathers some juniper berries, which, when crushed, release a special scent that can attract fish. While waiting, he does some crafts in front of his tent to distract himself from his homesickness. In the afternoon, he checks his fishing net for the second time. Despite the rough waves, he still manages to catch 2 small fish. But after cleaning them, Eddie feels a tightness in his chest and a headache. This is not a good sign and could indicate a serious health problem. Gel isn't catching a lot of fish, but he's catching enough to eat 1 per day, which is fine. He returns to his camp and gathers some wild berries. He decides that's enough for today. Since he can no longer use his 4-compartment net, Gel decides to make a fishing device. A few days ago, he found a curved tree root, which is perfect for a fishing reel. He takes his new tool to the lake to test it out. He uses another stick to cast the hook far out, hoping to catch a fish quickly. But after 2.5 hours of standing on the shore, he hasn't caught a single one. This is not the result he was hoping for. It seems like the heavens aren't on his side. Comparing himself to others, Gel feels a bit down. While others are worried about not catching fish, Ashley has an abundance of meat and fish. A quick check of her net by the lake reveals more than 20 fish. Looking into the water, she's even more surprised to see plump fish getting hooked one after another. She counts 23 fat fish. With this kind of resources, there's no way the other players can catch up. She returns to her camp and immediately enjoys a delicious meal. After eating her fill, she still has a lot of food left over. She admits she doesn't want to try any harder. She'll just lie on the ground and enjoy life. Back with Eddie, the feeling of loneliness is pushing him to his breaking point. He wakes up early and grills his last fish for breakfast. He originally planned to split it into 3 meals, but now he just eats it all at once. He eats the fish he caught and leaves nothing behind. He's so hungry that he even cooks the fish right by the river. After eating his fill, he lies on the ground. It looks like he's about to give up and go home. Next, Sunny. They say that once you're full, you get restless, and she is a prime example. After getting some energy, she decides to go mountain climbing to enjoy the scenery. She passes a wild stream and takes a sip of the cold water, insisting it was a good decision. After expending the energy of 10 cows, she finally reaches the top of the mountain. After admiring the view for a while, she puts on her large backpack and returns to her camp. So far, Sunny has lost 3 to 4 kilograms. If she can't catch fish soon, it will be difficult for her to last until the end. Another contestant with peculiar behavior is La. He doesn't seem to worry about finding food every day. He just puts on his backpack and goes mountain climbing to enjoy the scenery. Unlike others, once he starts climbing, he can't stop. He's full of life. He climbs for more than 3 hours until he can't take it anymore and goes to a stream for a drink. When he gets back to his camp, he can't sit still. After a full day of climbing and sweating, he uses his waterproof cloth to create a large bag, pours in some hot water he boiled, and prepares to take a shower at his camp. What's even more surprising is that he even has shampoo, which he claims he found by the lake on day 4. He smells it and thinks it's still usable. His luck is off the charts. Now he doesn't have to worry about an itchy scalp. On day 14, while some people are struggling, Aster wakes up with her hair looking like a beehive. She hasn't washed her hair in half a month and even considers braiding it, but her appearance isn't a major concern. With food no longer an issue, she decides to improve her quality of life. She stacks firewood to the side and begins to lay down stones on the ground to create a flat floor. The task is completed quickly. She also builds a proper kitchen area, a small, cozy bed, and a bedside bookshelf. Her camp is now a true wilderness mansion, fully furnished. She is extremely satisfied with her masterpiece. Looking at the scale of her setup, she feels she could live here for half a year or even a year without any problems. On day 15, Aster is singing as she goes to check her net. At the same time, Gel also arrives at the lake. However, the results for both are disappointing. Gel only catches one small, sad-looking fish, while Aster, though still successful, catches only 8 fish, a drop from her usual abundance. Despite this, she quickly grows to love this place. If she continues at this rate, the championship is surely within her grasp. On Eddie's side, he picks some juniper leaves by the lake and boils them over a large fire. Surprisingly, he doesn't make tea but uses the liquid to bathe. He says the leaves contain plant oil that can help clean the body. After his bath, his mood is greatly improved. He lies on a rock, sunbathing and reflecting on his life. On day 16, the appearance of the yacht signals that another contestant is about to give up. The remaining players seem to have all but given up hope. Who will it be? The camera shifts to Eddie, who is waiting by the shore. He states that his reason for leaving is not the lack of resources, but his inability to cope with the loneliness. Compared to the $500,000 prize, he would rather return to his family. He packs his belongings and regretfully leaves the competition. Now, only 4 contestants remain. The isolation of the wilderness is slowly wearing down their spirits. Who will be the final champion? On day 17, the 4 most resilient contestants remain. In the middle of the night, while sleeping, Gel hears a noise in his camp. He grabs his flashlight and finds a small bullfrog on his tent. Faced with a protein source that came to him, Gel quickly traps it in a pot. The next morning, he takes the frog he kept overnight to the lake. The animal tries to escape, but Gel immediately swings his axe, separating its head and body. He discards the top half and keeps only the delicious frog legs. He brings them back to his camp for lunch and cooks them over a large fire. Without any spices, the aroma fills the air in just over 10 minutes. Gel can't wait and goes outside to enjoy his meal. The taste of the grilled frog legs is excellent, not unlike beef, but with a much higher protein content. Although there is very little meat, it is a fantastic change of pace. The situation with Sunny is also quite stable. So far, she seems to be the one having the most difficulty, having only eaten 3 fish. Today is another day to check her net. Miraculously, she easily catches a small fish. Afterward, she checks her second net, but this time she's not so lucky. The net is cleaner than her face. This makes Sunny feel both happy and sad, because surviving here is incredibly hard. She cleans the fish by the lake, finally getting to enjoy a good meal in the wilderness. The weather is getting colder, and she shivers as soon as she returns to her camp. Sandy quickly does some warm-up exercises to get her blood flowing before cooking lunch. Even after a good meal, Sunny sits dejectedly in her camp and begins to doubt herself. The intense loneliness and struggle to find food make the over 50-year-old woman cry. If the situation continues as it has for the past 3 days, she will likely have to pack up and leave soon. La has been busy renovating his shelter, upgrading its protection from wind and rain. The inside is now fully furnished, with unnecessary items piled up outside. After finishing, he goes to the river to check his net. For him, not catching anything is impossible. However, after checking 2 nets, he only catches 1 small fish. This result disappoints him. With no other choice, La goes up the mountain to pick blueberries, as the small fish is not enough to fill him up. Since his nets are yielding less and less, he has to find another way to get fish. La decides to build a fishing device out of wood. After measuring the size, he immediately gets to work. He even makes a wooden float, ties a hook to it, and puts bait on it before letting it drift downstream. He hopes it will float to the middle of the lake and catch a big fish. On the other hand, Aster, the contestant with the best living conditions, does crafts whenever she has free time. She thinks it would be fun to use some of her creations as drinking cups. After she's done, she goes to the lake to check her net. Before she even gets there, she's smiling with joy. She knows today will be another day of good fortune. Just as she predicted, she easily pulls in 6 fish. Her resources and luck are truly unparalleled. Despite getting the same results every day, Aster is still thrilled. Thinking about how the smoke always stings her eyes when she cooks, she decides to build a chimney on her roof. Standing on a homemade tripod, she uses a knife to cut a large hole in the waterproof tarp, inserts a piece of birch bark, and covers the surrounding area with leaves so the smoke can escape. She then quickly starts a fire to cook and test its effectiveness. Even with a large fire, the smoke no longer bothers her. On day 18, Gel also begins mountain climbing. A pattern has emerged that anyone who climbs the mountain soon withdraws from the competition. Will he break this curse? After packing his gear, Gel sets off with a heavy 50-pound backpack. Along the way, he finds a few pairs of deer antlers. Although not useful, they are worth keeping as souvenirs. After 2.5 hours, he finally reaches the summit. Looking down at the beautiful scenery, he quietly takes off all his clothes and stands naked by the lake, shouting. No one knows what he did after that. Back with La, the fishing device he set up yesterday didn't catch anything. He thinks he can't keep fishing in the same spot, so he decides to move. His new destination is the river he saw a few days ago while mountain climbing. After packing up, he immediately sets off. This time is different because he plans to leave his net there, which means he'll have to stay on the mountain for a few days. As he ascends, the fog thickens, making his compass almost useless. Fortunately, thanks to his good memory, he finds the right path. He follows the stream upstream for more than 3 hours until he discovers a large inland lake. Exhausted, he lies down to rest for a bit. As night falls, La builds a campfire with dry branches to spend the night. The northern lights appear, a beautiful natural masterpiece that leaves him in awe. He wakes up the next morning to find his sleeping bag covered in frost, a testament to the harsh nighttime temperatures. After packing up, he takes his fishing hook to the lake. He casts it, and a fish bites almost immediately, proving that the resources in this area are more plentiful. Back at the base of the mountain, Aster is also up early. Although the morning cold makes her hands stiff, the joy of a good harvest always lifts her spirits. She carefully pulls a fish onto the shore. Today she only catches 4 or 5 fish, but for her, that's enough, especially since many other players haven't caught any at all. Meanwhile, Sunny shivers from the cold. She warms up with some exercises. Her luck is good today, as she catches a large fish. After cooking it, she eats it on the spot. The feeling of being full gives her new hope to keep going. On Theo's side, out of boredom, he builds a small bonfire on the lake shore. As he sits by the fire, he sings and reflects. As the fire dies down, his patience fades with it. The next morning, a yacht slowly approaches the lake. It's clear that another player has given up. As the boat docks, Gel greets it with a bright smile. He was confident he could last at first, but over time, his mood changed. Lately, he's felt that life has lost its meaning. He would rather go home than fall into depression. He packs his things and regretfully leaves the competition. Now, only 3 players remain. Who will be this season's champion? The competition is entering its crucial final stage, where the willpower and mental strength of the contestants are key. On day 21, only 3 players remain. Yesterday, after catching a few large fish, La decides to pack up and return to his original camp, as staying at such a high altitude is not a long-term plan. He once again carries his 50 kilograms backpack and sets off. Along the way, he finds wild dandelions. According to his survival guide, dandelions have excellent detoxifying properties. He immediately eats a few to hopefully replenish some energy. Finally, after more than 3 hours of climbing and crossing streams, La returns to his camp. As night falls, the 3 remaining contestants begin to feel the effects of loneliness. They can manage it during the day, but at night, the feeling intensifies. The next morning, La is the first to check his net by the shore. The net feels heavier and heavier as he pulls it in. He harvests 2 large fish, a lucky catch that means he won't go hungry tonight. Meanwhile, Sunny also has a rare stroke of luck, catching 2 sources of protein. With a trembling yet excited heart, she rushes to pull them ashore and take them back to her outdoor kitchen to prepare for lunch. Soon, her feast is ready. She doesn't waste a single bit of this precious protein, even licking the last bits of meat from the bottom of the pot. After eating her fill, she takes her walking stick and goes for a stroll on the mountain, enjoying the peaceful life. On Aster's side, for some unknown reason, she wakes up that morning and begins to cry. Although she has the most food reserves, she cannot stay strong if her mental state is unstable. To overcome her negative emotions, Aster decides to pack up and hike up the mountain to relax. In such a desolate environment, walking outside is the only way for her to distract herself. As she walks and enjoys the scenery, her mood slowly improves. When she happily reaches the summit, she builds a rock cairn. Looking around the barren landscape, Aster has an epiphany. She can't always push herself too hard, or she'll miss the beautiful scenery around her. Back with La, he rushes to check his net before dark, but due to the strong winds and waves, he spends half the day trying without catching a single fish. No fish means no food, and no food means he's getting closer to giving up. At this point, LA's mindset hasn't changed. Hopefully, he can hold on until the end of the competition. On day 23, despite sleeping well, La wakes up to find his tent has collapsed. It must have been caused by the strong winds. He had planned to go out and find protein, but now he has to deal with the mess first. Without even eating breakfast, La quickly moves all his belongings to one side. Not wanting to freeze tonight, he must rebuild his shelter today. Before he starts, however, he needs to eat something. He goes to the lake to check his net, but because the waves are too strong, the net is tightly tangled with seaweed. After a difficult struggle, he pulls the net and only to find it completely empty and tangled. It seems he will have to work on an empty stomach today. He gathers a few logs, cuts them to equal length, and ties them together to form a tripod stand. Then, he arranges more logs in a circle, completing the basic frame of his teepee. Afterward, La decides to repair his fishing equipment, as it's his only lifeline in this place. He rushes to cover the frame with the waterproof tarp before dark. Even a tall tent like this could easily be blown away by the wind. Whether it will hold up depends on luck. On day 24, a storm unexpectedly hits the lake. Aster has just returned from the shore, but this time, she only caught 1 fish. The reason is clear: the bad weather. The underwater fish trap has been twisted by the wind. In this condition, it's impossible to catch fish. Looking at her destroyed trap, she is just glad to have 1 fish for lunch. Because she had been wasteful before, she no longer has any reserves and can only rely on her fish trap, taking it 1 step at a time. At Sunny's camp, seeing the storm approaching, she rushes to prepare her shelter. She quickly cuts wood and firewood, but after only a moment, she's exhausted. It seems that going without food for so long has taken a toll. She returns to her camp and quickly starts a fire to cook the remaining half of her fish from the morning. This delicious meal melts in her mouth, making her mouth water every time she eats it. La, still hoping to catch fish, decides to make a makeshift hook out of a water bottle. As soon as he finishes, he heads to the lake. He stands there for over 2.5 hours, his face numb with cold, but he catches nothing. Seeing the weather getting worse, La returns to his camp angrily. He looks at his tent, where the wind is blowing from all 4 directions, and worries it will be blown away tonight. In this weather, the contestants can only rest in their shelters. When boredom sets in, they must face their mental struggles. On day 25, a contestant finally gives up. The scene shifts to Aster, who is already waiting at the shore for the crew to arrive. She is moved to tears, having not seen another person in a long time. For her, lasting alone for over 20 days is an incredible achievement. If it weren't for her mental state, she could have won, given her large food reserves. But life is not a dream. She regretfully packs her things and leaves the game. Now, only 2 contestants remain. La checks his fish traps again. It seems his entire life revolves around catching fish. Who can stand this kind of life? After pulling up all the traps, he finds nothing, perhaps because the cold weather has driven the fish to deeper water. At that moment, Sunny also runs into a problem. She has no fish to eat today and decides to call it quits. The crew, having just left, has to rush back. After an emotional hug, Sunny explains that she is leaving not because of a lack of food, but because her mental state is unstable. The dissatisfaction she had been holding for so long in this place has finally come to a head. However, for a woman over 50 to survive for half a month on a deserted island is a great achievement. On day 26, only La remains. He is still trying to figure out how to catch fish. As if by a miracle, when he checks his trap, he catches a large fish. It's enough to last him for another 2 or 3 days. At the same time, the production crew brings LA's family to the site. Following the usual procedure, they perform a quick health check. As he is being interviewed, his wife and 2 children slowly emerge from behind him. Upon learning that he is the champion, La is overjoyed. He then gives his family a tour of his camp. He packs his belongings, and he and his family happily return home with the $500,000 prize.